thought it was frustrating in various senses. I thought that the main problem was Everton's consistent lack of cutting edge in attack. They dominated possession at times and they did create half chances, but once again, and it must have been the way for at least 6 months, maybe more now, is that lack of incision in the final third, that lack of a real killer ball or an emphatic finish just hamstrings all their efforts, and it was evident again. As early as the first minute, Seamus Coleman did terrifically well to cut inside and beat two men, bear down on goal, and the end product wasn't there. And that's not a criticism of Seamus, who's a full-back who's been doing terrifically well in midfield, but Everton do need someone, a striker capable of producing more goals, and Luis O'Hara obviously played 120 minutes in midweek. At his age and his injury record, it's always going to be unrealistic for him to expect to play 120 minutes one game and then 3 days later turn out and be firing on all cylinders. And unfortunately that proved to be the case. And I hear a lot of clamour, understandably, about Apostolos Velios, and yeah, he scored twice this season. But it's important to remember he's 19, and while people do want to see more of him, he's not going to be someone who from the start can change games. He can come off the bench and have an impact, and we've seen that. He's not going to be a sort of a starting Premier League goal scorer, certainly of the calibre Everton need if they're going to progress up the table, and they need to do that because they're sitting 16th at the moment. They've got Newcastle obviously on the horizon, and while the fixture list does become a bit less severe, points are never easy to pick up in the Premier League, and what you don't want to do is get to Christmas and New Year and be looking sort of the top, looking up at the top and sort of lingering down in the bottom six.
A few rumours floating around today about this interest from an Indian consortium. Can you tell us the latest on that?
Yeah, it's an Indian, as far as we understand, it's not a consortium, it's an Indian conglomerate. It's a company called the Jain Group, who are based, according to various rumours, they're either based in Calcutta or Mumbai. We understand that they have had a genuine interest in either investing or taking over Everton. But as it stands, it's only been initial talks. There have been representatives of the Jain Group who've come to Merseyside, and then who've subsequently gone and met Bill Kenwright in London. But sources close to the club who we were in contact with have insisted that they're one of many people who frequently speak to Bill Kenwright, and Everton are often sort of encouraged initially, only to see no firm interest materialise. And so far it's been the case with the Jain Group. Whether or not it'll move on from there, we just don't know yet. If we do, the Echo and sort of obviously going to be interested in reporting it and letting the fans know, because we understand the fans are desperate to know if there's going to be any financial saviour. Everton are desperate themselves for a financial saviour. They really are, looking at a very difficult future if they can't find a takeover. And I think a takeover is what's needed. It's not fresh investment, because the amount of people willing worldwide to invest in a football club without having any controlling say, strike me as you could probably count it on the palm of your hand, if that. It's going to be someone who's going to come in and take over, and even they're going to be not exactly in abundance, because any company that comes in to take over the club needs to buy Bill Kenwright and the rest of the board's controlling shares. They need to pay off the club's debt. They need to solve the conundrum of a new stadium, which is going to involve inevitably a big financial outlay, and then they need to inject money into David Moyes' transfer kitty, and that's going to be a massive £500 million plus job, and there's only so many companies that can do that. So whether the Jain Group are that sort of company yet, we just have no indication. Like I say, there have been initial talks. From what we understand, they haven't yet come back to Everton to indicate that they're interested in taking it a step further and doing anything like due diligence or anything like that. So I would sort of urge a bit of caution, really. It's understandable to get carried away and to want to read more into rumours than it actually is. I think it's just a time to take it in people's stride and see if anything develops from it and not get too carried away yet.
Finally, looking ahead to the weekend, we've got a away trip to Newcastle with a flying high. How do you fancy the Blues' chances?
Yeah, I do fancy the Blues' chances. I was there last season to see them get a really nice win at St James's Park. Newcastle played decently, but Everton played even better. It was a good performance on the road at a tough venue. And I expect Everton, despite Newcastle's form, and let's face it, they could actually go fourth if they get a result against Stoke tonight. I expect Everton to go and compete for 3 points, never mind going away and being content with a point. I don't really think Newcastle have played anyone yet. I think the game tonight against Stoke will be interesting, because Stoke are a bit of a different prospect to what Newcastle have faced so far. You could say Newcastle have had the opposite of the Everton's fixture run lately. They've played a lot of beatable teams, if you like. So I fancy Everton to go and get results. It won't be easy. It's another difficult kick-off time at 12:45, and I feel for the supporters who are supposedly charged with getting all the way to the north east for that kick-off time. But yeah, it's something that Everton realistically can hope to go and win. A game they've got to go and win, and luckily for them, it does get a bit better after that. Then you've got Wolves, Bolton, Stoke on the horizon. So there will be a slight sort of more cause for optimism, but they can really start that better run with 3 points to St James's Park. I think it's imminently achievable.